Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wendell Elamine James Show. Tonight we have a second part of Mr. Ernest Kirkwood. We recorded last week and we was so good into it, we want to bring him back this week and do it again. So we're going to bring on Mr. Kirkwood again this week. So Mr. Kirkwood, welcome to the show again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Right,
glad to
right.
be back.
We were so in depth last week. We had to bring you back for a second part.
All right.
Now what are you doing now, Mr. Kirkwood?
Well, right now I'm involved in two or three things, and what that looks like is I've been out 4 years, and I feel that this year, 2016, I will find my niche.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, I'm on-call driver with Health Right 360. I'm very active with Walden 890 Hayes. I go over on Saturday morning and support the house and facilitate the morning meeting. I'm a member of the San Francisco Reentry Council. I currently chair the subcommittee on support and opportunities, and have a project going with that, which I'm gonna speak on. Also, in being on the Reentry Council, it has taken really 4 years to get a basic understanding of what the council does, and to understand how politics and systems work in San Francisco. And it's been a learning process for me. And so I'm doing that, and I work down to Levi Stadium for all the 49er home games and special events. So I'm really stretched out, but that's my comfort zone. That's what I do. That's what I'm comfortable doing. But I think this year that something will surface that I will basically concentrate all my energy into. It's going to be around change and around reentry, but specifically what it is, I don't know. And when it shows, I'll be able to identify it. That is what has happened with the 4 years I've been out.
Right.
I just stay on track, stay focused, and what I need, it shows up. It shows up.
Now, right now you're working with the reentry program. You started this program. This people coming home from prison, long-time offenders coming home from prison.
Well, that has always been my focus. It was my focus the last 5 years I was in prison, because we created the Balanced Reentry Activity Group and had upwards of 250 men actively involved in our various self-help classes and programs. And coming out and leaving a lot of good people, behind. I have a insight into some of the things that are needed, in the way of updated information and support and information. The Adult Probation Department in San Francisco puts out a resource guide. It's entitled "Getting Out and Staying Out," and it has a listing of various resources and all the stuff available in San Francisco, and it's a pretty thick guide with a lot of information, and it also has what is called highlights, and that highlights are highlighting the success stories of about 20 to 25 men and women that were previously incarcerated, came out, stayed focused, and what they're doing. So about 2 months ago, we had a retreat of the 3 subcommittees that are part of the San Francisco Reentry Council. And the purpose of the retreat was for us to gain focus as to what it is we're supposed to be doing and how we're going to go about it. And we were tasked with we met in general and discussed a lot of things, and then we broke up and we were tasked with coming up with 3 things that we wanted to accomplish in 2016.
Okay.
And for our committee, the Support and Opportunities Committee, we came up with two things that we wanted to accomplish in 2016. We didn't discuss a third one because in discussing the first two, we realized that it was going to be work intensive, it's going to take a lot of patience, and we couldn't make three happen.
Right.
Being realistic, we couldn't. And so we came up with two. And the two things that we came up with is to add another section to the resource guide, because probation we had spoke about this before on the council. They had went into one of the prisons and presented updated resource information and material, and they were asked by several people, how do they make a parole plan and different things related to that. Also, they get a lot of mail asking that same question. You know, how do I make a parole plan? I just come to prison, I got 2 years in, I'm doing a life sentence, what should I be doing? And so we feel that is very important, because there are a very, very, very large lifer population in CDC.
Yes.
And a lot of them, men and women, will be returning to San Francisco at some point.
At some
You know,
point.
they
That's
will
right.
be returning to San Francisco. So we're committed to do that. And what we would like for it to look like is we're going to have a new section. It's going to deal with it's going to deal with how to make a parole plan for a life-term individual. And it's going to be really simple. It's simple in that almost all lifers that are paroled and come to San Francisco still have their parole plan. And it has a lot of information, a lot of it is privileged information, whatever, but the index of every parole plan is just that. It's an index, table of contents as to, okay, what's in the parole plan.
Right.
So we're going to get 3 or 4 of them from different parolees to show how it can look, because it's going to look different for each individual.
Right.
We
Exactly.
don't, it's all going to be in the same church, but we're going to be sitting on different pews. So we're going to do that. Also provide information as to what a brother or sister could be doing right now to prepare themselves for the eventual parole, what that looks like. And we're going to have insight from people that had just come out, that have been out a year or 6 months or a year and a half, and have them say some of the challenges
What they're facing today.
that they had to deal with or currently dealing with. A real reality look at what an individual is facing, okay, when they come out of prison after 25, 20, 35, 40 years,
Right,
okay? Because the highlights that I mentioned earlier is really good. It's good to see, okay, yes, it can be done. I can get out of prison and you know, have a second chance at a first-class life. Yes,
right.
I can.
That's
It can
right.
happen.
It can happen.
But it ain't all beautiful. It ain't all
No.
flowery.
It's a job.
There's bumps.
Yeah, it's work.
There's bumps, and you have to stay focused.
Right.
You know, and it's not the big things that happen with us when we come out of prison and, you know, try and reintegrate back into society. It's not the big things, it's the small things.
That's right. That's right.
It's the little
right.
small
Little
things, so
things.
it just heap up. And we make a parole plan, and I found out that for all intents and purposes, it's good. It's good to have the parole plan because you got your brain working and you're thinking ahead, and all that is good. But for all intents and purposes, it's not going to work.
Not gonna work.
And
It's definitely not gonna work.
a lot of people inside don't realize that. And for the many people that are listening, the reason why for the most part, a parole plan doesn't work is that an individual makes the parole plan. That's the whole thing right there. An individual makes the parole plan. I make this parole plan as to what I feel, how I feel about my crime, how I feel about my life, and that part is good. But the part of like, here's what I'm going to do upon my release.
Right.
This is what I see myself doing upon my release, which is fine. You're thinking, but once we walk out the gate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wendell Elamine James Show. Tonight's guest, we have Mr. Leon Franklin, longtime friend of mine. We're going to bring him on the show tonight to give a little insight on people coming home from prison and give a little history that society should know about people coming home from prison, what they did in prison, what they did to get out of prison, what they're doing now, and what their future goals are. So we want to welcome Mr. Franklin to the show tonight. Welcome to the show, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Elamine James. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you on the show. We want to ask you a few questions and give the community a little information of you and about you. What was your sentence and what was your judgment crime that you committed to go to prison?
Okay, well, in 1997, my charge was about 16 counts of second-degree robbery, and that was without a gun, second degree without a gun. And my sentence was 23 years with 85%. 23 years with 85%, which roughly left to about like 17 years, 6 months, and 5 days after, I would have been getting out, in November.
Okay.
And that would have been, exactly 85%. But back in, 2014, the laws changed and prisons were overcrowded, and so that people would qualify. They instituted all type of new programs, right, to where you could possibly get out of prison early if some of the stuff that those different laws that they passed, if it applied to you.
So did you follow under Proposition 47?
No.
Okay, what did you follow up under?
Mine was, what was it? It was, I forget the name of the proposition.
Okay.
But I didn't even, was odd about it, right? All the times I prayed to, wanting to get out of prison early, you know what I mean? And everything that came out, every proposition that came out, I didn't qualify for, you know what I mean? So I just gave up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but one day I got some mail, institutional mail, and it said that my time has been readjusted.
Okay.
So I was getting out 4 months early. Boy, was I surprised.
Where did you start your time?
I started my time in, I went from the San Bruno County Jail to 850 County Jail on the 7th floor, and then from there in '98, I went to San Quentin.
Was San Quentin the reception center there?
San Quentin was the reception center there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
And you left from San Quentin. They sent you from the reception center to where?
when I left from it was my birthday. I remember it so clear. It just seemed like, it's been a while anyway, but it was my birthday, July the 15th. 1998, I was on my way to High Desert, Susanville.
So you went to Susanville first.
I went to High Desert,
Okay.
Susanville first.
You went to the pit first.
Yes.
Okay. And you left from Susanville when where?
I left from Susanville 2001, and I went to Tracy. And the reason why I was able to get out of Susanville, at the after the 3 years that I put there, been there, was that they came up with some more laws. You know what I mean? To where I didn't get any write-ups in the county jail. I'd been to camp and fire camp before, so that broke my points down from 78 to about 51. Made me a level 3.
Was that right? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so and then I was able to go to Tracy and to depart from High Desert.
Okay, so you was on the main line of Tracy for how long?
I was on the main line in Tracy for to about from 2001 to October 2002, and at that time, unbeknownst to all of us, Tracy was no longer going to be a reception center. So they started to take us, all of us, call us down to the counselor's office first of all, and to get our where we was going to be going, and then right after that we was taking our property down to R&R, and so most of us we went to Old Folsom. You went to Old Folsom, and now and after you got there, they started giving them options, some other type of choices to go other places, but I didn't get an option.
You said that Tracy was no longer going to be a reception center, so they was making it the main line.
They was making it. They was making it. A main line. You know what I mean? For it was matter of fact. Tracy. No, it wasn't. No, excuse me. Matter of fact, they was turning Tracy into a reception center, and it was no longer going to be a main line. It was only going to be like L3 and a few other things that other job things that they had there for inmates that they were going to keep there, and everybody else had to go.
Right. So L3 was for a licensed unit.
Yeah, it was
at
like
the time,
yeah.
and the main line they was going to run PIA.
Yeah,
to keep the prison running.
They kept the, they kept their best. The specialists of the inmates, those are the ones that stayed. Everybody else that wasn't in a position to where it was needed to keep those positions going.
Right.
Then they had to go, no matter whether you knew the captain, the warden, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
You had to go.
Yeah. That's where I went when I in 2005. That's why I went to Tracy. I was a tailor, so I went right into PIA and became a sewer in PIA in 2005. That's why I paroled from 2015. But you went to Old Folsom.
Old Folsom.
Folsom.
Old Folsom is where they had this program. I think it was on Wednesday. It was dealing with anybody that was willing to listen or thought about something something positive to change their present course or or their direction in life. That's they had this program that was in the Interfaith Chapel in the church. I think it used to be on Wednesdays, I believe, and I used to go there on occasion to the program and to see what how it was ran, what was going on, what I could possibly use for the program, and it was positive, right? It was it was learning how to think, how to to get out of my comfort zone and find something that was going to to be involved with things that were going to keep me grounded and free once I if I ever got out of prison.
That program it was in Interfaith Chapel. Was it the Motivation Development Group?
Yes, Mr. James, it was your program that I became involved with, right? And it was, matter of fact, it was one of the few positive things that you could go to, but for everybody, all races and everything, and actually get, somebody to listen to you and to get your goals, your long-term and short-term goals, addressed, and, what you was going to do after prison. And it would also give you some place to go to where you could be not involved in some of the unpleasant things that used to occur on the yard for most of the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was like a safe haven.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, how long did you stay in Old Folsom?
Well, I stayed in Old Folsom to I think it was 2002, end of 2002. It was like March. Was it March? No, it wasn't March. It was had still a couple of months to go. But I stayed in there to March of that next year because I spent that time in the hole because I got in a prison riot in the kitchen, the chow hall kitchen. I think it was in the 2 building.
So you was involved in a prison riot. That's something that you had no.
No. I was eating breakfast one morning in the kitchen. You know what I mean, and I had my brand new clothes on. You know what I mean, my Levi's, and you know I was prison sharp. You know what I mean. So I was going to chow. You know what I mean. I wanted to show my new clothes off. You know what I mean. And I wanted to eat breakfast. You know, that's all I wanted. You know what I mean. So. And I go to chow hall, and then the alarm goes off. And I'm sitting at the table eating breakfast with a, few, fellow inmates, of various nationalities. And the alarm goes off in the 2 building on the 4th floor, I believe it was. You know, it was an altercation in progress, between the Bloods and the Southsiders, right? So. We down in the kitchen on the floor, and the man in the gun tower, in the kitchen, all, what I mean. So we down, and altercation ensued in the front. First the blacks came through in handcuffs from the 2 building, the 4th floor. The officers escorted them to the cages, on the yard. And then the Mexicans came through, the Southsiders, and they said something in Spanish to their Spanish inmates, and holy hell ensued after that.